Welcome again to the Tri-City Regional Chamber. This is our membership luncheon for the month of June. I'm Kim Richards. I'm the Marketing and Events Director and Vice President for the Regional Chamber. I'm filling in for Lori Matson, our President and CEO. She is out of town today on a very important healthcare forum, so she'll join us again next month. I would like to go ahead and just thank everyone for attending today. And we're very pleased to be able to have the head managers for the Department of Energy, Richland Operations Office, and the Office of River Protection. They're here to discuss the path forward for the Hanford cleanup. As you know, this is a very important topic to our community, so we're very anxious to hear what they're going to talk to about us today. Today's luncheon is sponsored by Basin Pacific. We're very pleased to be in partnership with them today for this luncheon. And I'm going to ask Todd Halterman, a representative with the company, to please come forward and give us a few words about the company. Todd, thank you.
Good afternoon. Oh, we can do better than that. Good afternoon. I know there's food in front of you. I always ask them to speak before you eat. It's because insurance is boring. Actually, I'm pleased to sponsor the luncheon as we do every year. This community means a lot to our organization. The Basin Pacific team we bring to you today was really a semblance of two companies, two organizations. We have Pacific Crest Planning, which is known in the community as a business consulting and financial planning group, and then Basin Insurance, which is known for their commercial insurance, risk management, agricultural risk management, construction, any kind of risk management, loss control issues that companies may have today, including health benefits, employee benefits, healthcare reform. We've combined those two companies and we're rebranding in a strategy as Basin Pacific. So as you see the Journal of Business advertising, the Tri-City Herald, you're going to be seeing a lot more around the community about our brand and our brand identity. The reality is we have a consultative team. Our consultative team wants to help our chamber members to work on their business because we know you're very busy working in your business. The challenge that we have every day is when you're reviewing insurance or financial planning or retirement plans or risk management or commercial insurance needs, you're always buying something. And the worst time to try to vet information is when you're buying something. Why is that? Because you don't know what part is a sales pitch and what part is real, okay? So at this juncture, we have come together as a consultative team to come in and truly consult, evaluate your needs, your risks, what your wants and desires are, what's your 5-year vision of your company, and truly write prescriptions predicated on that review. But we do it as a team, and we help you work on that business because we do know you're working hard in it, and we don't want you buying something when you're trying to get a sales pitch. We want you to really learn. We do educational forums. We teach in the community. We most recently did a community business forum at Meadow Springs to talk about employer liability, healthcare reform, the Affordable Care Act, a lot of things that you're facing. But we sponsor these types of luncheons to be in front of you and say thank you. Thank you for your support. Our company is growing leaps and bounds because of the trust and good faith of folks like you. And our team, if they wouldn't mind just standing for a second. David Haller heads up our Employee Benefits Division. David, thank you for joining our team. 20-plus years experience, very technically oriented expertise. Kyle Blodgett helps head up our Financial Planning and Business Consulting Division. James Kavanaugh is our Marketing and Media Relations Coordinator who helps organize this. Glenda Simonson is the person that really is the spokes in the wheel that runs the Commercial Insurance Division. Justin Toner is one of our ambassadors actually within our group, and you guys will see more of him as time goes on. Welcome to the team. Jolene, you are a wonderful piece of our organization in our employee benefits and healthcare. And Stacy, what a great job you do in our division there in employee benefits of holding all that thing together. So with that, I'll let you go. Enjoy your lunch. Thank you for having us today. And it is good business to do business with chamber members.
Thank you, Todd. We really appreciate your sponsorship, and you're a great partner with the Regional Chamber. Thanks a lot. The Awards and Recognition Committee meets every month, and they select a chamber member that has really contributed to the community as well as to the chamber. And we are very pleased to announce this month's recipient of that award, the Outstanding Member of the Month Award. And that will go to the Port of Benton. And I just want to talk a little bit about the Port of Benton. I know Scott's going to come up and accept that award on behalf of the Port of Benton. They are a long-time member, 36 years with the Regional Chamber. Thank you very much for your long-sustained membership. In addition, they're a wonderful supporter in the community events, and one of the major events that they help sponsor is Cool Desert Nights, that little 4-day event that we just had last weekend. And we couldn't do it without sponsors like the Port of Benton, where we had 700 cars and motorcycles come out. We had thousands of attendees at the event, both local and long distance, which was great for our community. So again, Scott Keller, Executive Director for the Port of Benton. Thanks again, Scott. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our chairman of the board, Mike McCorder, and he'll lead us through the rest of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Kim had the opportunity today to stand in for Lori because Lori's at a meeting in Spokane on the Affordable Health Care Act. We'll find out how affordable that is later, but we won't talk about that today. We got other things on our docket today. Thank you, Port of Benton. Scott, appreciate all you do for the Chamber and our community, and also our sponsors. Thank you. Appreciate that. A Chamber does not exist without its members, and one of our goals is to always reach out and get new members, and we appreciate those members we have that reach out to those that they have associate with and do business with. Our goal is to always to be number one. We have a ways to go. Right now, I think we're tight. We're at number 4 in the state as far as the number of members, and we can reach number 3 this year with your help. And with the help of Devon, who is at this time I'd ask to come up, he's going to present our new members. And so, Devon, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Devon Diaz, and I am the Membership and Communications Director here at the Regional Chamber. And it is my pleasure to introduce some of our new members today. As I read your name, please come forward to receive your membership plaque, and please stand at the front until all names have been read and we've taken a group photo. Our first today is Fresh Picks Washington Smoothies and Fruit, Whitney Rowley. Aesthetic Journeys, Sunny Alameda. Carbon Custom Printing, Stuart Shepard. Chico's FAS, Mary Hess, and Phoenix Restoration, Steve Hudson. Please help me in welcoming them to the Chamber. While we are always pleased to see new members join, we also appreciate members that renew their membership year after year. Now, they might not all be here today, but we like to acknowledge our members who have maintained their membership with the Chamber for over 20 years. These organizations are truly dedicated to the Regional Chamber and the Tri-Cities community. Days Inn, Richland, 36 years. Kennewick General Hospital, 27 years. Lamson International, LLC, 27 years. Amco Transmissions, 27 years. Brutzman's Office Solutions, 27 years. Clayton Ward Company, 27 years. West Door Jewelry, 27 years. Cadillac Regional Medical Center, 26 years. Tri-Cities Community Federal Credit Union, 26 years. Granite Construction Company, 25 years. Blue Crown Dental Arts, 24 years. Hills Restaurant, 24 years. Tri-Cities Battery Incorporated, 23 years. Arlene's Flowers, 23 years. Moon Security, 22 years. Beacons Moving and Storage Company, 22 years. Rogers Surveying Incorporated, 22 years. Shelby's Floral, 22 years. Sport House Northwest Incorporated, 22 years. Tri-Cities Water Store, 22 years. Adult Day Services, Tri-Cities, 21 years. Images, 21 years. And Dayco Heating and Air, 20 years. Let's give them a round of applause, please. And lastly, we do want to be number 1 in the state of Washington for membership. So if you do know a candidate for membership, please grab me after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Devon. Appreciate everything, and especially welcome to our new members. Today's program will feature Richland Operations Head Manager Matt McCormick and Office of River Protection Head Manager Kevin Smith. We understand that both these individuals are very busy at this time and appreciate the time that they are spending with us today to talk about the important things in our community related to the Hanford projects. We'll begin with the Richland Operations Office Manager, Matt McCormick. Matt was main manager of the Richland Operations Office in July of 2010. In his role, Matt is responsible for management and oversight of cleanup of the Hanford site, with the exception of the liquid tank waste and the construction of the waste treatment plant, which are under the purview of the DOE's Office of River Protection. Matt leads a diverse and high-performing federal workforce that is dedicated to the safe and effective cleanup of the Hanford site. Under Matt's leadership, RL is focused on implementing the 2015 vision, which has major objective of completing cleanup along the Columbia River by 2015. Matt values a cleanup process that engages the open dialogue and considers the values of Hanford's local communities, stakeholders, and tribal nations. At this time, please welcome Matt McCormick.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome. And I feel like we start a lot of our meetings at Hanford with the safety topic, and I'm kind of in a walking safety topic over the last week or so. And the moral of the story there is to work safe and also play safe. I do want to talk about Hanford cleanup and the immense progress we made over the last couple of years. The Hanford cleanup, as many of you know, is a huge undertaking. It's good to see a lot of my colleagues here that are in the room, contractor leadership. They really make the cleanup go at the Hanford site, doing it safely with value to the taxpayer. The Hanford cleanup is a huge undertaking, like I said. It's managed by 2 Department of Energy offices, one headed up by myself, Richland Operations Office, and the other, Kevin Smith, you'll hear from. So at the Richland Operations Office, we're focused on 2 of the components of cleanup. So one major component is the tank waste, which Kevin will talk about. The other is the cleanup of the river corridor in the Central Plateau. Our work involves the cleanup of soil, contaminated soil that could affect groundwater or the river in the future, demolishing excess nuclear facilities, cleaning up groundwater. The Richland Operations Office is also the site operator, so we provide the site services like fire, security, roads, electrical, distribution, water, those type of things. So we do have a plan and we do have a strategy for the cleanup of the Hanford site. If you go to hanford.gov, you'll see an important documents button, and we have our Hanford completion strategy, and that gives the overall scope of the Hanford cleanup, our priorities, challenges, and good facts and figures. It's only about 60 pages long, pretty concise. Based on that completion framework or strategy, we at the Richland Operations Office are focused on completing our 2015 vision. This vision was put together 2008, 2007 time period to show tangible progress of Hanford cleanup, recognizing that the cleanup of Hanford is going to take many decades to complete, the 2050 or 2060 time period, and we felt it was important to have some demonstrated progress in the near horizon for Hanford cleanup to show value to the taxpayers that we are getting the place cleaned up. The major components or tenets of the 2015 vision is completing the cleanup along the Columbia River. This is a 220 square mile area of Hanford where the production reactors were located, and then the uranium fuel fabrication facilities and research and development facilities were located, called the 300 area. So our goal is to complete cleanup of that 220 square miles by removing contamination that could be a threat to the river in the future, demolishing excess facilities, and then cleaning up the groundwater. So if you look at the river corridor, it's a huge removal operation. It's a removal of contamination and solid buried waste away from the river so it doesn't threaten the Columbia River in the future, and gets it into our engineered disposal cell on the center of the site that's licensed by the Environmental Protection Agency. Another major aspect of the vision is to complete the demolishing of the plutonium finishing plant. This facility is on the center of the site and is our highest risk nuclear facility because of the amount of plutonium held up in the ductwork and some of the process equipment. Another part of the vision is to implement our groundwater remedies. We have a fairly extensive groundwater contamination on the Hanford site. That groundwater does slowly flow into the Columbia River, and we want to prevent that groundwater from getting in the river in the future and eventually clean up groundwater to the cleanup levels established by the state of Washington or the Environmental Protection Agency. Moving on, just a couple things on the workforce and economics. We have about 8,000 folks out there doing cleanup, including DOE and the contractors. Our budget, annual budget, is nominally $2.2 billion a year. That's going to progress or continue that need for the foreseeable future, so it will continue to be an economic engine for the area. Oh, just a note on subcontracting. We require the contractors to subcontract and have a subcontracting plan and have specific small business goals. So if you look in 2012 alone, over 800 million was subcontracted, with about 475 of that going to local small businesses. So we focus on small businesses, and then the contractors are also encouraged through their best value process to select local small businesses. And that type of requirements on the contracts will continue. This is just our 2015 vision up close and personal. The vision is not just the vision, it has a lot of metrics involved with it in terms of number of waste sites, number of buildings, amount of groundwater to be cleaned up. We track those at a monthly basis with the contractors and show progress in terms of making sure we're hitting the mark on the cleanup schedules and doing the cleanup safely and securely. I think I got it now. Just some highlights of the river corridor cleanup. You can see here some work along the Columbia River, digging up waste sites, knocking down buildings, cleaning up groundwater. We made a huge amount of progress over the last couple years. A couple highlights are over 700 waste sites or burial grounds removed, hundreds of buildings demolished and debris safely disposed of. If you go to the next slide, this is just a picture of one of the reactors, or two of the reactors along the river. We've cocooned or put in interim safe storage 7 of the 9 reactors. One of the reactors that many of you know is being preserved because it's a National Historic Monument B reactor. There's also legislation to convert that reactor into a national park as part of the Park Service, the Manhattan Engineering District National Park, so that will be very exciting when that gets passed. Moving to the Central Plateau, this is the plutonium finishing plant I talked about. The workers are right now in the middle of stripping out the equipment in that facility that's contaminated with plutonium and packaging it for disposal either on site or at the waste isolation pilot plant. Groundwater cleanup, we're making huge strides on groundwater cleanup. We have 6 pump and treat systems operating right now to a tune over about 150 million gallons a month. So we are treating over 1 billion gallons a year of contaminated groundwater, and that's just a huge amount. If you think about Coeur d'Alene Lake is about 5 billion gallons of volume, so we'd be able to fill up Coeur d'Alene Lake in a couple of years, 3 years. This is just a depiction of the groundwater cleanup progress on the river corridor. You can see this is the Columbia River on the top of the picture, and this is what it looked like in 2006. And then we have 2 pump and treat facilities in the area. Chromium is important in terms of a contaminant because of its potential impact to salmon. And so we take chromium cleanup very seriously. It's a high priority. We have, like I said, 2 pump and treat facilities operating there, and we've knocked down the plume greatly just over the last 3 years and actually stopped chromium from entering the Columbia River in this area this year in 2013. And you can see the plume's much smaller than it was, and the concentrations are much less. And we'll continue to operate that pump and treat systems until the chromium's all gone. This is just a slide on some progress of the Hanford site. I've talked a lot about these. One thing to keep in mind is that huge removal operation that I talked about, the river corridor. We've disposed of over 14 million tons of contaminated soil and debris, much of that along the Columbia River, to our environmental restoration disposal facility. That's just a huge amount of waste. That's hundreds of thousands of truck trips of contaminated waste going into the environmental restoration disposal facility. So you might ask yourself, what's the so what factor? So what? We're cleaning up the Hanford site. And one thing that is new in the conversation of Hanford is we're making progress along the Columbia River. We have a land use plan called the Comprehensive Land Use Plan, and we're starting the conversation with the community on opening up public access to the Hanford site after more than 60 years of government ownership and restriction of access. Because we're doing such a good cleanup along the Columbia River, we want the public to go out and enjoy some of that land as we finish cleanup along the Columbia River. Things that we're just starting the conversation with is increased recreational use, like maybe a bike path or a hiking trail, those type of things, coupled up with heritage tourism of the bee reactor when that becomes a national park. So this is a new conversation we're having starting here soon to start that public access in the 2015-2016 time period. So it's a very exciting part of the cleanup of the Hanford site, and just underscores the quality of cleanup we're doing, protecting the Columbia River, but also giving back to the community and to the public. And after all, you guys are the customer of cleanup of the Hanford site, and that's the fruits of the labor in terms of increased public access. We have a great website. There's lots of information on that website to check on progress of cleanup, challenges, and lots of technical information. So please take a look at that. And if you ever have any questions, there's contact information on who to contact at Hanford for questions or concerns. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin.
Kevin became manager of the Office of River Protection in January of this year. In his role, he is responsible for the safe storage, retrieval, treatment, and disposal of 56 million gallons of chemical and radioactive waste at the Hanford site. Kevin is responsible for the management of two of the largest projects in the environmental management portfolio, the tank farms and the waste treatment plant projects. As manager, he is responsible for all of the River Protection's federal staff, leading a team of 135 federal employees and 36 support staff. A little bit about Kevin now. That was his job. Kevin's career spans 35 years with a number of senior leadership positions with the Department of Defense and the Department of Energy. He is a native of Olympia, Washington, and a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy with a bachelor's degree in physics. Kevin, your turn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. And let me say again, good afternoon to everyone. I think I've been a resident now almost 6 months of Washington again. It is kind of nice, as he mentioned, as an Olympia kid coming back to his home state. So I think it's kind of an unusual time for me to come back and try to help get the last vestiges of the cleanup mission on the right track to be able to be executed and really turn the whole reservation back over to the community. So I'll say with that. So, okay, see if I can aim it correctly. So essentially what I'd like to do is just frame the river protection piece, and then I'd like to talk a little bit about what's going on out there, and I'll end it up with what are the opportunities, because really the community in our energy communities like this grow up to diversify, to help it to have predictability, to have good communication, to be able to see what business opportunities are out there. I'd like to try to share and give you a frame of reference for that as we talk. Go ahead. So the Office of River Protection is inside of the Hanford site. So if you look at the lime green that's kind of on the inside, that's labeled in the very, very center, that's where the Office of River Protection is essentially responsible for, and that's the center part of the center plateau. We have a partnership really of three primary players. We have the Department of Energy, Bechtel National, which is responsible for the waste treatment plant, and then WRPS, Washington River Protection Solutions, which manages the tank farm and the integration activities between the two. So it's a partnership of three. Inside the site office for the Office of River Protection, we have a staff, again, of a lot of engineers, scientists, and program managers that help manage our work and try to ensure that it's accomplished in a professional, efficient way. In the bottom left corner for you is our new federal project director for the West Treatment Plant, Bill Hamill. Then the manager for the tank farms, which is Tom Fletcher. Ben Harp is in the middle, manages the activities for integration and the startup and the commissioning of the waste treatment plant. Paul Harrington manages the technical resources for nuclear and other regulatory operations. And then down in the bottom right is our contracting officer lead for most of our contracting work that we accomplish for the program, Mark McCusker. So the interest in general, as it was mentioned, we have 56 million gallons in the upper right-hand corner of legacy waste left over from the Manhattan Project in the Cold War. That's, as you can see, as the largest component. The Savannah River piece is about 40 million gallons, and Idaho has a 1 million gallon tank. Our waste is more complex, more difficult, more constituents, more chemicals, and our variety is not very homogeneous, so it's a much tougher problem to disposition than the material that was in the Savannah River site. So for the tank farm overview, this is a typical tank farm. You can see that it's high-tech work. It's work that has to be done very methodical, very protective of both the environment and the people that do the work. The upper right-hand corner shows the kinds of infrastructure you have to install on top of a tank farm that was designed to be put underground with no real thought of what to do with it after you were done with it downstream. So we have to put all of the architecture on top of these tanks to remove the materials and to manage it on a day-to-day basis because, again, the chemical hazards are there, the hydrogen hazards are there all the time. For the waste treatment plant, we have 4 major facilities that anchor our mission. The low-activity waste facility, the analytical laboratory, the high-level waste facility, and then the pre-treatment facility. Each one of those are in a little bit different stage of construction. The analytical laboratory has already met substantial construction complete, and it's in the process now of outfitting the laboratory with its equipment. The low-activity waste facility is slightly behind schedule, but it's on its way for substantially construction complete, either in 2014 or shortly thereafter. And then the high-level waste and the pretreatment facilities, as most folks know, are working through some very difficult technical issues because this is a first-of-a-kind facility. Very difficult to ensure that it's going to operate for 40 years safely. And the last thing the community here would want is to have a facility that's not safe that could potentially endanger us or the river. So we're taking it very slow and taking care of these technical challenges. Okay. We just notified the state that we actually have 2 of the consent decree milestones. We work under a federally mandated consent decree as well as the TriParty agreement. And both of the milestones are at risk. We haven't given up completely on either one of the 2 yet, but both are something that we have told the state because of the budget issues this year, working through the continuing resolution, working through sequestration. We've had some impacts to our project, and now we're trying to get, we managed to get a reprogramming through Congress that was appropriated by our, very appropriately supported by our congressional delegations. And now we're in the process of trying to restore and resume the construction. We know that in the case of the analytical laboratory that has impacted the community and the small businesses because of the procurements we had to restrict in the process. So those will be opening back up to a degree, and as we ramp back up to complete that, we're going to try real hard to have a straight line normality of operations so that it's be more predictable as we go forward. But we know that's impacted the community substantially. These are our cleanup priorities. I think they're pretty much in alignment with what the state thinks our priorities are. Again, we have to keep the facilities minimum safe. These are hazardous nuclear facilities that have to have all of the Department of Energy safety rules and operational rules every day, and we manage those effectively. So that is, again, a top priority, is sure that they're managed safely. But we're going to resolve the technical issues that we need to do to resume full construction on our high-level waste and pre-treatment facilities. And we're also going to then continue to develop the tank farm to be able to operate and feed the facility once the waste treatment plant stands up and operates. Now, so I put this slide in here just kind of to try to get to help you get a framework. I think most of you realize we had the Secretary of Energy visit last week. The new Secretary of Energy, in his 4th week on the job, came out, saw the plant, saw the activities firsthand. He's fulfilling the commitments he made to the Senate during his confirmation to come out, learn the Hanford mission, and again, create and approve a path forward by which we can finally complete the WTP construction and then its mission of dispositioning the waste tanks. So for the budget, for us, as Matt said, we're probably still looking combined to budget around $2 billion a year. That complexion of what we work on will change a little bit as the waste treatment plant shifts from construction over the next couple of years into operations, and that the tank farm will have a larger degree of operability with it as we then start transferring that waste on a more regular schedule. As for communications, I'm very, again, attuned to what our impacts to the community are by the things that happen in the activities. Once the Secretary of Energy determines the path forward, I'll be very communicative to the entire community so that we can all link into and have the best opportunity to benefit as a group with these facilities as we complete the rest of our mission. Technical challenges, we have the best from the National Lab supporting some very difficult, one-of-a-kind, very unique technical challenges that are currently holding up the construction of the pretreatment plant and the high-level waste facility. With luck, we'll have those technical issues resolved by the end of this calendar year or very shortly thereafter, and we anticipate next year that we'll be able to then ramp back up procurements and construction for the high-level waste facility. The pretreatment facility has some large-scale vessel testing and some other activities that have to be accomplished, so that's more likely going to take another year or two beyond that before we'll have predictability with that. As for innovations, I think there's going to be lots of opportunity for innovations. We have started a grand challenge process by which we are looking for innovative ways to be able to accomplish things. We have laid out a number of items that we think could save $250 million or more, or have 100-to-1 payback on a particular activity. And the national labs are going to take that on, and they're going to be looking for probably partners and ways to do these kinds of challenges. We're meeting with the national labs. We have at least 3 national labs already participating in a workshop in July, and I anticipate that'll spin out as opportunities to be able to link into for demonstrations, for lab support, for activities in the future. So let me just wrap up, if you will, on the point, and I'll let you open up time for questions because, again, this is an energy community that has grown out and is diversifying, and you're very knowledgeable and you have specific questions. But I'm very honored to be back into Washington State. I'm going to put my full energy in trying to get the waste treatment plant for once and all across the goal line. Yeah, and I think that with the folks that we have here today in supporting us in Washington, D.C., that's a very real possibility that we will finally have the predictable path to accomplish the mission. The leaking tanks are, first of all, I think most of you realize that the older single-shell tanks and then there's double-shell tanks. The older single-shell tanks went through an interim stabilization process a number of years, finished in 2005, of where they pumped out all of the pumpable liquids that could possibly be pumped out efficiently. And some of the pumps just can't get suction after a point to be able to move the liquid. And so we have had a re-announcement of a 1979 tank that was deemed leaking that is still slightly leaking. That's tank T111. And so it's leaking out at a rate of, we originally estimated between 150 to 300 gallons. But today, it's surrounded by a pump and treat facility that Matt mentioned of injection wells and extraction wells around it. And we've seen absolutely no increase or change in Matt's data relative to the single shell tank of T111. So, and the material in it is extremely low curie content. So it's really, again, it's something that we're not going to be able to finally solve until we ultimately disposition this tank. The other one is we had a surprise. It was nicely done just before I arrived, of a double shell tank having a leak, and a leak inside its inner annulus. So that means there are 2 layers of containment, And so we had a tank that seemed to be manufactured rather odd. In minus 20 degrees, it was welded. It was, there's not a lot of minus 20 degree days here, thank goodness. But it had a rocky berth. And so, a prudent person may not have put that in service in 1974, but they did. And so we have now seen a very small oozing leak that has come out underneath this AY-102 tank. And this is actually the picture of it. If you look on the upper left-hand corner, there's a little at the bottom of the picture. There's a band there that has a white bar. That's 6 inches, okay, 6 to 6.5 inches. So what we're looking at is about a total of 3 gallons, okay, or about 0.3 gallons over a period of time. This is an approximate number because we're estimating this from a distance with a camera. But about 3 gallons is total material. About 0.3 every week is about the average of gallons on it, and it stays right now inside the inner annulus as best we can tell. And it's just kind of sitting there changing complexion. We think it may be moving in and out a little bit with humidity or with pressure. But we're monitoring that part of it very closely. And then right when the Secretary was leaving, we identified that we had an interesting detection in one of our monitoring wells on the side. And that gave us another data point that we needed to investigate. So we told the state that we are looking at a possibility of maybe this has eaten through the next level of liner, but we don't know. And we're in the process of taking a look at that very carefully. We're also making emergency plans to be able to pump this if we have to, and those for at least the liquids, those plans will be in place most likely by the end of this week, and if we had to be able to remove the liquid if we need to. But the material that we have identified is a very, very small amount of potential material, and we're not sure it even came from the tank. Our first sample to try to type it and verify it indicated it was not determinable. It was very small. In fact, we were almost not even able to measure it because so we may have had a bad reading. Don't know. We're going to continue to investigate it till we do. So, if I encapsulate this, we've already had all of the single shell tanks, all the pumpable liquids out. We're trying to minimize the intrusion. We're looking at how do we manage the double shell tanks and whether or not we've already gone back and looked at all of the similar double shell tanks with the same age, the same pedigree, the same materials, and they're all sound. At least we saw no anomalies. So when you look and listen to it, I think we're getting hyped a little bit on the stories. For a lot of us know that we've been unable to give factual accuracy to the reporter that they're willing to take. And so I think for the community, realize that we're better than 7 miles away from the edge. We're surrounded now by a pump and treat facility that moves 2 to 3 million gallons a day through the treatment facility that injects the water back this direction, that we have the right people watching it, and we'll try to ensure that you keep the community, and precisely aware of what the risk is as we know it. So with that, I will turn it over to, thanks.
Yeah, please. Matt, if you'd join us. We're going to have some time for some questions. So, so if you have any questions, please, we have about 5 or 10 minutes here. Question right here, sir.
Well, we hope to be able to make glass as soon as possible opportunity. We're looking at a couple options. The Secretary hasn't made a decision about what date we will do it yet, so I think let me leave the date open for the moment. But we anticipate that we're going to have at least an interim storage capability on site for the high-level waste containers until a repository is selected by the country. So we think that we have a good approach to it, and we should have those answers relatively soon. The Secretary is committed to the state and to the governor that he anticipates the plan by the end of the summer.
The biggest problem in getting your goal accomplished, is it regulation? Is it money? Is it technology that we haven't developed yet? I mean, what is the biggest problem?
Which goal are you talking about? Waste treatment plant or just cleanup in general, or?
How about we both give you an answer?
Okay, there you go.
Okay, because it's different perspectives. And by the way, Matt and I have been acquaintances and friends for about 10 years, so it's kind of nice working together with somebody that's very much a part of what you've been doing in the past. For the waste treatment plant, there are a couple big challenges, one of which is first of a kind, very large-scale plant now that has to operate for a number of years within the nuclear safety rules. And that leaves challenges that have not been thought of or not been adequately resolved. And so for us, it's the technical challenges, the analytical work necessary to resolve those challenges to the satisfaction of all of the stakeholders. And for the tank farm, it's an aging infrastructure that you have to take care of every single day to ensure that there isn't a surprise that with those old tanks. I mean, that some of them will be 100 years old by the time we finally get rid of them. So, thanks. Matt.
So I'll focus on cleanup along the Columbia River. So the challenges we have in terms of cleanup is we're taking down facilities that are very old. We don't know exactly what's in there in terms of hazards. And so we have to go about the cleanup in a way that we have qualified people, detailed procedures, and more importantly, we have people that have the judgment of when they come across something that was not planned, they stop work, retreat, figure out what the safe path forward is to deal with this container they didn't anticipate or some contamination they didn't anticipate, and make sure we got the proper procedures, equipment, and train folks to go in there and remediate or deal with that hazard. And so for us, it's a lot less technically challenging. We're not dealing with the complicated systems to treat waste. It's more of how to safely exhume or clean up environmental contamination, old buildings, so that we don't contaminate the soil or the groundwater further, and of course, primarily protect the worker. So that's our challenge there.
Again, we'd like to thank Mr. Smith and Mr. McCormick for their staff for today's presentation. It was well informed, and appreciate your time, especially in your busy schedules at this time. Now, at this time, I'd like to have Heather Hoppy, our event director, come forth. We have some door prizes to give away.
All right, we have 7 door prizes to give away today. And the first one is a canister of Spark donated by Doug and Cam Gross with Advocare. And that will go to Crystal Steele from First Choice Restoration. If you're here, you can just come right up here and pick that up. Our second one is donated by Clearwater Square Apartments, and that's a bottle of Kiona wine. And that goes to Doug Wadsworth with Tri-Cities Community Federal Credit Union. We have an oil change and mini detail donated by Bill Robertson Nissan, and that goes to Tracy Wagner from KNDU TV. We have an all-purpose bucket and outdoor plant donated by American Leak Detection, and that goes to Gary Peterson from Tridec. We have 2 gift certificates from Ice Harbor Brewing Company for $30, and the first one will go to Commissioner Rick Miller from Franklin County. And the second one will go to Commissioner Barry Bush from Benton PUD. And then our sponsor, Basin Pacific, has donated a wine kit with a bottle of wine and picnic supplies for with that. And that will go to Diane Turney from Tri-Cities Community Health. So thank you very much to all the member businesses who donated this month. And if you're interested in donating a door prize at a future luncheon, please see me after the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. At this time, I'd like to thank Basin Pacific for sponsoring today's luncheon. Thank you very much. Pasco Red Lion for hosting today's event. DOE's Richland Operations Office and Office of River Protection for the presentation of today's program. Charter Communications for filming and rebroadcasting this program. And for all of you for attending today's luncheon. Thank you very much. Finally, please sign up for Good Health is Good Business, the programs and participants in the 100-day Wellness Challenge. Get fit, stay healthy, and improve your life. Each of us, I know, can need to do that, no matter where we're at. This program includes a kickoff event featuring keynote speaker and NBA veteran James Donaldson at the then also a weekly electronic newsletter full of wellness tips and also competitions and cash prizes. Register today at the Tri-City Regional Chamber office. And finally, thank you for attending the membership meeting today and luncheon, and it's good business to do business with chamber members. Thank you very much, and drive safe.